Yo, J Maya back with another video. And I wanted to talk about Jon Jones' most recent catastrophe here for just a minute. I have not been a fan of Jon Jones for a long time. For a long time. We all make mistakes. I've made plenty of them myself. And John just got in trouble after trouble after trouble. And the thing about hitting a pregnant lady, man, that was whack right there, fleeing the scene from that. The thing I was most upset about him wasn't that he used PEDs, that he got in all this trouble with the law, whatever. The problem that I had the most with him was I don't like lying, man. I don't like when people be lying. People call me a liar all the time. I hate that crap because I don't spit out lies all the time. Have I ever lied? Yeah, everybody's lied, man. But as much as I can, I try not to tell a lie. I took a video down because I realized I had some inaccuracies in it, man. Some things that I had said that weren't necessarily right on point. I didn't do it on purpose, but the truth is important to me. So when John's like, oh, I didn't take nothing, I swear I've never taken nothing, I'm like, that nigga's lying for real because he's for sure taking something. That stuff just keep coming up in your tests and being the same substance that his brothers got busted for. And so that's the main thing I didn't like about Jon Jones. And then playing the religious card. I'm religious too, man. I believe in Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm not perfect either, so I can understand that. But I don't play like I am, like I have this good side and whatever. I'm telling you that I'm a rough person that struggles, and my faith keeps me from crashing pretty much. It keeps me from being a crazy bad individual. Because if not, I probably would be. Without my faith in Christ, I don't know what I would be. I'd be a monster probably. So I can understand some of that too, but a lot of these guys play it up for the camera to get fans, and I don't like that. I don't like people using Jesus' name or Yeshua's name for PR reasons. You either have faith or you don't, but only God can judge the man's heart. I don't know his heart. I don't know if he really has faith or not, if he's a struggling person with faith, but I will talk about, after I watched that video, the body cam footage, that was rough. That was real rough. I should hate Jon Jones and jump on the bandwagon and start making fun of the guy and all this other stuff, but obviously something's not right, man. The way he was talking, he didn't seem like a hard, thugged out individual. He wasn't being harsh with the cops. He was yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sir. He was very humble in that whole situation. I was very surprised. And he was somewhat transparent. He was talking about that he has lost. I believe that he has lost in short-term memory. I mean, he's been fighting for a long time. All these guys, I got brain damage. If you didn't know this, go back and watch. I got diagnosed with CTE a long time ago. They can't diagnose it permanent. They can't give you like an actual permanent diagnosis until you die and do an autopsy. But I'm, according to all the signs, I hit stage 3, beginning of stage 4 of the things I deal with. And I've had a lot of blows to the head. I flipped a bike and hit myself on the head. I've been jumped a bunch of times. I used to play football and have several concussions from football. I used to wrestle. I had a concussion during a wrestling match where a guy did a cheap thing. He slammed my head off the mat onto the wood floor. I've been in several auto accidents where I hit my head on the dashboard. I hit my head on the window sill. I've probably been in like 12 wrecks. My dad likes to wreck cars. And growing up, we hit a deer one time. I hit my head then. What else did I do? When I was playing football, this sounds ridiculous. We used to play backyard football, but I was doing a cutting pattern. And this happened more than once. This happened like twice. This happened where I was running a cutting pattern and ran into a tree and got knocked out. I've been knocked out in fights. I used to fight a lot. I've been well over 500 fights in my life. I used to fight every day growing up, but I've been knocked out a bunch then too. I got hurt in the Army and had a serious TBI, class 2 TBI. And, it adds up. All that brain trauma adds up. You can't get away from it. So it has, trust me, I live with it every day. And it seems like I've been doing better for a while, but there's a long explanation to all that too. I don't want to get into, but I understand having short-term memory loss. There's no way I could. First of all, let's talk about those sobriety tests. Those sobriety tests, if you're sober, you still can't pass them. And they're a joke. I'll tell you right now, if you get pulled over and you're asked to do a field sobriety test, don't do it. If they start trying to get you to go through the motions, ask them, are you trying to get me to do a field sobriety test? If they said yes, say, I decline. I do not consent to a field sobriety test. Now, you don't have to consent to a field sobriety test. When you consent to a field sobriety test, all you're doing is giving them evidence against you. So if you have been drinking, to call you intoxicated. And if you haven't been drinking, they can still call you impaired just because you can't pass a field sobriety test. And those tests are made for you to fail. Dead sober, I can't do most of that stuff. Maybe that's because I have a head injury, but man, I don't have no balance. I got a metal rod in my leg. I'll tell you, in fact, I got thrown in jail one night. This was during the point where I wasn't walking very well, and I had to use, like, these polio crutches. I don't know if you know, where they hook onto your forearms. And they got the handle down low, and I walked with those for a long time. And I didn't get out of the house much, but I decided one night just to get out of the house. It was an embarrassing time in my life because I couldn't walk. I couldn't hardly get out of bed, but I wanted to get in. I wanted to go listen to some live music. So I went to this little pub. I didn't do much but sat down in one place, listened to some music. I think I had like 2 drinks. I might have had like 2 drinks, 2 beers. And I got up right after midnight, left to go home. Well, there was a cop that was waiting on people to leave that parking lot, which is illegal to begin with. But they did anyway. It was a state trooper. And I got pulled over, and I didn't realize that my tag had expired on my car. So he starts telling me, he asked me what I was doing. I says, over there. He asked me if I've been drinking. I said I hadn't had a drink in hours or whatever. He's like, will you do a field sobriety test? This is before I knew. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. But I'm walking with polio crutches now. Realize this. So he asked me to start doing things, and I couldn't do them because I had polio crutches. I couldn't do them on crutches. How are you supposed to walk toe to heel to whatever you want to say, with crutches, with polio crutches? It's impossible. You know what I'm saying? He's like, well, we can't continue this field sobriety test, so I'm going to book you for DUI, and we're going to do a breathalyzer back at the jail. I'm like, dude, I'm not drunk. I mean, I'm not drunk at all. And you knew before you asked me to do these sobriety tests that I was on polio crutches. But homeboy just wanted to put me in jail. So they leave my car there. They impound it. They towed me off to jail. They give me a breathalyzer. I pass it point blank. Blow it out the water. I blew like a .01. So anyway, they kept me in jail for 3 to 4 days because my tag was expired. It was out. It was a couple weeks. I didn't get the notice in the mail because I had some issues with my mail, so I didn't even realize. And I know everybody's probably done that. Forgot to renew the little sticker that you put on your license plate, man, where you go pay the tax, man, whatever, like $40 or whatever, and you got to get the sticker. So they kept me in jail for like 4 days because of that crap, and all because of a field sobriety test. So anyway, it was whack, man. Don't take them tests. All you're doing is giving them evidence, and they can still find a way to book you and take you. Now, if they may ask you for a breathalyzer, you can't deny the breath. Well, you can deny a breathalyzer, but most states say that if you deny a breathalyzer, your license is going to be revoked for a year. The only thing that you can do then is that you can apply for a hardship license through the courts, and that's just more money and more lawyers, and where you suppose you have to drive to work and to pick up your kids take your kids to school or whatever it is. They'll give you a hardship license that you can do, like a restricted license. You can only do those activities. You can go to work and back. You can get your children and back, that kind of stuff. But they don't necessarily have to give you that anyway, and you have to pay for all those legal proceedings and go through the whole court proceedings anyway. And so you're pretty much without a license for a year if you deny a breathalyzer. If they ask you to do a field sobriety test, say no. If you haven't been drinking, do a breathalyzer. Do it if you haven't been drinking, because if you pass it, you pass it. They got nothing on you, then they got to let you go. But if you have been drinking, I wouldn't consent to it, because even if you blow under the .08, they can still put you in jail for driving under the influence. You don't even have to meet the legal limit for them to put you in jail. Real talk. They can still say you was impaired. And for other reasons, like say pills, drugs, or whatever. So stay away from them field sobriety tests. All you're doing is giving them evidence. And the breathalyzer, if you have been drinking, you might suspend your license, but they might not. They'll have to get a court order for your blood, and you can deny that too. And there's things to come to that, but then you can fight those in legal ways, and might be able to beat the DUI. I'm not. First of all, you shouldn't be drinking and driving. I don't drink and drive at all anymore. And whenever I did have a drink, I averaged a drink an hour. I'd get in there for the first hour to have 2. Second hour, I'd have 2, and then I go to 1, and then I'd drink water and wait for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, to sit there, watch the game or whatever, make sure that I'm completely good before I would go. Now I don't. Now it's just Uber, but I don't drink anymore. I drank on Valentine's Day, and that was a bad idea. That night turned out bad anyway. I wish I had a drink. I was having a good time up until then, but I wasn't driving then either. Somebody else was. But anyway. But John going through that whole thing, man, they're setting you up. They're building evidence so they can book you. I mean, cops are not your friends. They're not there to help you. They're there to charge you. They're there to arrest and to charge, and it funds their system. It funds their salaries. It funds the state. It's a racket. The whole police thing, it's a racket. They are not there to protect the public. If you get robbed, they're not going to do anything about it but take a report. You're never going to get your property back. They're never going to find out who did it, and you're not going to get anything out of it. All you're going to do is waste your time talking to police officers and getting on their radar and wasting your time with a report that doesn't even really matter. Unless you have something for like home insurance, then you need a police report to file with us for the home and for your house insurance. That's really the only time you need to use them. Besides that, I got my house broke into, and for once I called the cops because somebody was in there, and I just didn't want to shoot them. And I don't know, I should have shot them, but there's a lot to shooting somebody even in your house, because they were in the house, and if you can, like, sometimes in some situations, if you shoot somebody even in your own house was invaded, man, they'll charge you with manslaughter or involuntary homicide or something, man, and you'll be, next thing you're doing 6 to 10 years because someone broke in your house and you try to protect it. So there's a lot of rules and laws around, even self-defense laws. So I didn't feel like dealing with it, man. What did they do to me? They put me in cuffs, put me in my yard face down, tried to confiscate my weapons. I said, hell no, I got my sister to come get them. Then they tried to put me in jail for somebody breaking into my house. I had a hypoglycemic attack. I'm hypoglycemic, and I was out there, and it was sweet and hot. They had me in the dirt, face down, in cuffs, in my own yard when I called them because somebody had broken my house, and then they wouldn't go in there to clear the house out to get the people out of the house. The people finally left out the back, ripped and busted my fence, and then they wanted to go inside and search my house. I told them, you didn't want to get the people out? No, you ain't going in my house. They said I needed to take my medication because I have to take a lot of medication. But anyway, so they went into my house without consent, searched, turned stuff over in my house. Then they tried to lock me in jail and put me into a hospital, saying I needed to go to a hospital. And they were trying to involuntarily commit me, and I didn't do nothing. Somebody broke into my damn house. Real talk. So I'm just telling you that, man. That's why I don't like the police, man. I've been, the last time I had an encounter with the police, I was around somebody I didn't know had a warrant. They got picked up on a warrant. I just happened to be there. They put me in handcuffs. They pulled down my pants, stripped me down to my boxers, in front of a female, picked me up by my wrist, slammed my head into a door. They tried to ID me, and I didn't have an ID on me. It was locked in my vehicle. So they took my keys out of my pocket and went to my vehicle. When I told them I don't consent to a search, I don't consent to you going to my vehicle. You don't have any probable cause to be in my vehicle. I wasn't in a vehicle. I was in a residence. So strip searched me. Down to my boxer shorts in front of a female. To beat me up, to pick me up by my wrist, handcuffed, and slam me into a door. And then the reason they did it is because they asked me for ID. I reached into my pocket to get ID. Then they grabbed me, handcuffed, and slammed me into the door, man. And then picked me up after and slammed me into the door. I said, you asked me for my ID. What am I supposed to do? They knew I had to reach in my pocket to get an ID. They was just setting me up just to beat me up, man. I'm targeted, man. So they just want to find ways to harass me and mess with me, man. Had it out here one night, man, that cops came to somebody was riding my butt, one of these people that was gang stalking to me. So I slowed down real slow because he was being a jerk riding my butt and bright lighting me. So I went to a creep just to piss him off. And they called freaking 911 with my tag number. I'm in the house and I get a cop coming to my front door and starts walking around my property and searching crap, man. And I didn't come to the door, man. I waited for them to leave. Then I called. I said, do I have a warrant for my arrest? And they said, no, we'll pass you through to the officer. And they passed me through, and the officer said, oh, we just wanted to come check on you. I was like, check on me? Check on me for what, homie? He goes, well, we got a call that you might be not okay, driving okay. So they were trying to find out if I was drunk. So they tried to come to my residence on my private property after I wasn't driving, already home, by IDing my tag, get me to come out of the house so that they can arrest me or put me up on charges for DUI when I'm already home and in my house. And I don't drink like I told you, man. I don't go out. I never drive and drink. All I did was go run to the store to get a pack of cigarettes, and they was trying to head me up on some charges. That's what these cops do. So I go through I'm talking 15 minutes here just on this, and that's not my point really, this whole video. Anyway, I'm just trying to give you some real talk, man, some factual stuff, man. If you talk to the cops, man, say, if they start asking you questions, if they come up to you, it's just talking randomly, it's a consensual back and forth talk. Say, don't be consensual, don't talk to them. Say, have a nice day, officer, and walk away. Now, if they try to stop you, say, am I free to leave or am I being detained? If you're being detained, say, I do not consent to any search and seizures. I do not answer any questions. I'd like to speak to my attorney before you ask me any more questions. I won't say anything further in your presence without an attorney, and to do so is a breaking of my Fifth Amendment right. Now, don't say I want to be silent. Say, I want my attorney. Because when you have an attorney, that's a whole different ballgame they have to play with. Because when you request an attorney, they can't continue to question you. If you continue to be silent, if they say silent, they'll still badger you and hound you with questions. If they're still badgering after you've asked for an attorney, they've broken a legal precedent. They can't do that. But continue to be quiet and not say anything. And don't help them in their investigation, because anything you say or do will be held against you in a court of law. They'll twist your words. They'll twist the situation. Don't try to argue yourself out of a situation. Just be quiet. And they'll have to either charge you or let you go. You're being detained. If you're being detained without a reasonable suspicion or any probable cause, it's an illegal detainment, and you can arrest them. You need to keep all this stuff on video. I keep a GoPro on me all the time. I wear that thing everywhere I go now, man, because I never know what's going to happen, man. They're going to hand me up on something and try to trip me up on something, and they'll do illegal stuff, man, all the time. Now, in that video with the cop was actually pretty nice to Jon Jones, and they was being cordial. I guess he probably knew who Jon was. But all I have to say is that Jon was definitely inebriated badly. We know that from the breathalyzer, but towards the end of the video, Jon broke down. He was crying, man, talking about his kids and talking about his problems. And, it's just like, I couldn't hate him, man. This guy I've disliked for so long, man. And you shouldn't, I don't feel sorry for him necessarily, but something else is going on with him, man. He's not all there. The dude's hurting. Something's wrong with him. As a fighter, you put off this certain air of invincibility. I'm a badass, and I'm this and that, and all the trash talk and all the crap that he talked to DC and to other fighters and looked like this invincible being. He's not, man. He's a dude with some serious problems, and his heart's in a bad place. I wonder why he was shooting off rounds. I almost wonder if the dude was thinking about committing suicide. I've been there before, man, with a gun in my hand, pulled a round off, and skipped off the side of my head, man, because I had it held like this. Went up in the ceiling. He might have done something similar, man, because when you get to that place, man, you're not thinking right, you're thinking crazy, but, you never know. Depression could take you to some places, man. It can take you to some bad places, man. And the dude, I think for him, everything in his life has been fighting, and his whole family is athletes. He wasn't as good at athletes as his brother. He never made the cut. He wasn't as good as them. He's I guess the younger brother, I believe. So he's probably he's living in their shadow, and the UFC gave him something, but then he got busted for steroids and got his belts taken away and busted again. Legacy tainted. All his fans turned on him. that affects him because that's all he had was his legacy in fighting and his reputation in fighting. And now with these last few fights he's had, everybody's saying, I think he got beat. I think he got beat. And robbery. I wonder if all this is taking a toll on Jon Jones. I wonder if it's all affecting his mental status because he feels like he doesn't have anything. And obviously something's not right. The dude's in pain of some type if he's out, coking and drinking on lockdown. And, I don't understand it. He's got a girl and kids. I struggle with depression at times in bad places, man. But when my kids are around, man, I'm a different person. I want to spend all the time I can with them, I don't try to distance myself and get away from my kids and get away from, Now, when I had a wife, that was a different thing, man. Me and her didn't get along, so I tried to get the hell away from her. But I never with my kids, man. I want to spend all the time I can with them. Usually it's my kids not wanting to spend time with me rather than me not want to spend time with my kids. Usually they want to play on the freaking video game or play on the phone or watch a movie or whatever, or play on the tablet. They don't want to do something with dad sometimes. So it is what it is. But I guess that's all kids, especially as they get older, they start wanting to be more independent and do their own thing. But when he cried, I felt for the guy. He was talking about having anxiety. I believe that he had anxiety. I don't think the dude's tough like we think he is. I think he's a shell of a person, really, man. And he made me realize in my own heart, man, that I have judgment for people, man, and some unforgiveness as well. I was looking in the mirror, and I could see sometimes, this sounds crazy, but it looks like I could see two sides of myself sometimes, a dark side and a good side. And I was seeing a lot of my dark side last night. I'm like, I don't like this, man. I need to come into the light. And I had to ask God's forgiveness for a lot of things. And that was all spouted about the Jon Jones thing because, man, I've hated that dude for a long time. And I needed to put that down and, offer some mercy to that dude. So I stopped and I prayed for him, man. I prayed for Jon last night. And I hope the dude, for the sake of his children, for the sake of his family, and for his own sake, man, and for his own peace, can find some peace, man, and get past whatever's going on. He may serve some jail time, and if he does, it's valid. I mean, you can't be out there drinking and driving, shooting off guns in your car while you're drunk, man. I mean, that's endangering public safety, for real, so you can't be doing that. But at the same time, normal people don't do that when something's not wrong. Something's not right upstairs with the guy, man. I think he definitely has some mental health issues going on, so I pray the dude gets better and gets his act together. He's got people dependent on him. He's got a lot of kids, and he's got a fiance. I don't know why he's not his wife or whatever, but they all depend on him, man. He's got a family that loves him and depends on him. So for their sake, man, I want to see a better ending. I don't want to see the guy's life just fall apart, or I don't want to see the guy ended up on TV with seeing that he suicided or killed himself. Because that would be tragic, man. The guy's one of the best fighters we've ever seen, picograms or no picograms. The guy can still fight. He's got a ring IQ that fight IQ that not very few and far between have ever had in the sport of MMA. He's probably the smartest fighter in MMA that I can think of in history. So, that's to say a lot. Even if his body, maybe he wouldn't be able to do all the athletic ability without the picograms, but as far as his mind for the sport and his game plans and his fight IQ, nobody touches Jon Jones. So anyway, that's what I got. Sorry, this was a long video. I didn't mean for it to be this long, but just putting out some wisdom on top and my thoughts on Jon. So anyway, be blessed. Have a good day. God bless everyone. Love one another. Be good to one another. And peace.